was one, the final best-of-3 set of the SMITE Pro League regular season here in Season 9. What a year it's been, and hopefully a great set to end our day. And because we are so close to the end of the year, that means we are close to the SMITE World Championship. And a great way to celebrate the SWC just around the corner is hopping in-game and grabbing the SWC Digital Loot Pack for yourself in-game, featuring Atlantis Leviathan's Gilgamesh. That's the headlining skin in this SWC Digital Loot Pack. It's amazing. Guaranteed to play like Panatom did during the SMITE World Championship run last year for the Leviathans. That's it. No money back or anything. It's just, it'll make you play better. But that's right. A bunch of awesome skins in the SWC Digital Loot Pack. In a great way to kind of get in the Worlds mindset, because we are on the run up to Worlds for sure. So jump into game, take a peek, and pick it up for yourself. My name is Dolson. As you can hear, Gormizer.
Yeah, that's me.
Joins me on the desk for our third and final set of the day in our 68th and final set of the year, something like that. I have no idea. We had, 3 double round-robin phases?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Phase 1 was just one.
So single round-robin.
Double round-robin.
But
double round-robin part 2.
But you got to do the weird multiplication thing here, don't you? You got to do 7 times...
Each team...
8 times 7.
14, 28, plus 7, 35
but
sets
that's
per
each team times 8.
Times 4 because they played each other.
Right.
So half of those are going to be against each other.
We have played so much SMITE this year. My goodness. And then there was one. We have played a lot of SMITE this weekend as well.
140.
140. Yeah, you're the math guy. I'm struggling. No. We're on the final set of this weekend. We've had a lot of sets over the last couple of weeks as well. Remember the bye week? Shuffled some games around, so a triple header on Thursday, 2 and 2 on Friday and Saturday.
Oh man!
And now 1 set remaining here on Sunday.
I think that we're in for, I don't know what kind of treat, but a treat nonetheless. You know what I mean? I know that this is going to be a fun one to watch. I don't know if it's going to be yesterday style fun or the Bolts and the Valks. Like I honestly anticipate the Valks maybe pushing pretty hard for this one. They were talking about going out to dinner after this, but I imagine they'd like to be celebrating.
I guess technically for these teams, Bolts doesn't matter. They are locked into 6th place. Suppose there could be some shifting around here between the Valks and the Scarabs, which could be important. I mean, if we're really splitting hairs here, because that might change up what group
we were
they're
talking.
In.
Oh yeah,
in the SWC group stages, so it could change what SPL teams you end up going up against, and the SOC teams, the SEC teams that you're going up against. So potentially important for these squads. But the Olympus Bolts, they are locked and loaded, exactly where they are, and so this is our second to last look at the standings for the year. So Gore, let's talk about the matchup we've got: Olympus Bolts versus Valhalla Valkyries, and it's a conversation we've had throughout this weekend when the set impacts your standings not at all. What do you play for?
Pride.
Obviously pride.
Money.
Maybe have a little fun, a little extra money. Sure. Well, Bolts aren't playing for money right now. I think there's an argument to be made for having some fun and ending the phase on a light note. Also, something to be said for try to build some consistency and a bit of a winning culture around your team. And with the Bolts, all bets are off.
That's that weird thing, and I had mentioned this earlier, where you're in this weird balance area that you don't want to show off anything new because you're saving all of that for playoffs, right? Like, so you're coming into this last set, you're not going to be absolutely locking in like the thing you think is the 100% best way to win SMITE, but at the same time, what are you going to lock in? And for the most part, it's probably just stuff we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Barry got to play as Scotty yesterday, so I can't imagine that he's like going for that again. He scratched the itch, right? So he's probably feeling pretty solid about it. Yeah. I would like to see what they bring out. I think it could be, like you said, pretty fun. I also think that if they just locked in like the same draft they played 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised either.
Sure. It was a grueling 2-game set for the Olympus Bolts against the Jade Dragons earlier on this weekend. They'll end their phase against the Valhalla Valkyries here today. And their mid laner, Venenu, standing by with J-Mac for the pregame interview.
Yeah, that's right. I got Venenu from the Olympus Bolts, the mid laner here now. We'll kind of push away from the Dragon set. That one was a a bit of a fiesta, at least to say the least there. But going back up against the Valkyries now, earlier on this phase, you guys did fall to the Valkyries. So is this maybe a bit of a revenge tour for the Bolts?
Not really. We're just gonna play some different stuff that we haven't before, and then yeah, we're not trolling because that was not fun yesterday at all. So yeah.
So maybe expecting some pretty serious gameplay, at least as serious as you can kind of get for a matchup like this one. You know, it's last game of the phase. I mean, how does it feel, man? We're now in the last regular season game of the entire of the phase of season 9. From here on, it's just playoffs and plans. I mean, how does it feel for the team right now?
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, we have some stuff to work on, but we pretty much nailed down what we think we want to do going into playoffs, and yeah, just excited to play, get this one over with, and then yeah, just move on.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a stumble at the beginning of the phase. You guys have really been able to kind of pick it up here. How are you kind of feeling about you and your team's chances as you start moving in towards playoffs? You know, now that you're going to kind of get a good solid look at what the top 6 are, how do you kind of feel your chances are in getting that qualification towards Worlds?
Yeah, feeling good going into it. I believe we face Kings, so that'll be interesting. I think they're on a hot streak right now, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to place them. I think we can have a decent matchup into them. They can have a decent matchup into us, so it'll be good and interesting.
All right, well, I'll let you get back with the team. Thanks for coming by for the pregame interview. Good luck in your matchup. We'll throw it back over to the desk.
Yeah, it's important to remember, Gore, and I take it away from Ven there, where, you know, it's such an interesting balance because it's a grind throughout the year, building up strategy, team consistency, things like that. But now is really when, like, the work gets started for our teams here. Of course, throughout the year, you're trying things out, but it's a more long-form approach. When you talk about, like, really having to bear down over the next couple of weeks and it's time to figure things out, that's happening now, this set and then the weeks leading up to playoffs, qualification, all those sorts of things. Plenty of work to be done for all the teams in the league, including the Valhalla Valkyries, a team who will not be participating in the Phase 3 playoffs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't qualify. They will be playing in the SMITE World Championship group stages early in January, an event where the final 4 teams will qualify in to the SWC the following weekend. You know, this team, Gore, they've always had a pretty good head on their shoulders throughout the year. It feels like a team that maybe was surprised with how difficult some of their matches were, but then also became realistic and sought out new and different ways to kind of grow and form consistency together as a team. But as you see here, Benny Q out of the mid lane, you know, all smiles for the Valkyries right now, and probably feeling accomplished. I mean, you get to the end of your first year in the SPL, probably bittersweet for them given how it went, but an accomplishment nonetheless.
Well, and I think that there's really important notes throughout all of that because, like, and you'll see this discourse I think online, but on you know, like Reddit, Twitter, things like that, especially around the Scarabs and the Valks. But this team has improved so much from when they joined. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, we're talking about a team that the first couple of weeks, it wasn't even close half the time in their sets. They'd maybe play for, you know, like 5-10 minutes of even Smite before it started getting out of hand. And slowly, you know, originally it was like, okay, well, now that 10 minutes is 15. Now that 15 is 20. Now you've got a team that is very capable of not just taking matches off the top teams. I mean, we've seen them beat the Kings. We've seen them beat the Leviathans. Like, we've seen this squad do some things that you honestly would not have expected after watching the first few weeks of the SBL this year. And so I think that, especially considering this is the last time, much like the Scarabs, the last day we're going to get to see them until the beginning of January, I think that they are one, about to go into like the hyperbolic time chamber of training. They are going to lock down and come back incredibly strong. But I think that's saying something, considering their growth this year has felt almost exponential with how much they've been able to improve.
Yeah, it feels like a team at the beginning of the year that came in attempting just to play their SEC play style.
They were an SEC team in the SPL.
Right, and a lot of that revolved around Benny Q and weird picks and saving his pick for last every single time, and what can we put Benny on? Can we catch other teams off guard? Quickly learned that SPL teams a bit too resilient and adaptable in-game to the crazy stuff, and the Valkyries since then have adapted some win conditions, changed up their game plan a bit, and have a real good look at qualifying to the SWC early on in January. And so, Gore, as we get into picks and bans for Game 1, it is a possibility, an opportunity maybe for both these teams to try out some new stuff, to have some fun, take a breather. But what we saw in our second set of the day, Scarabs and Oni Warriors. Still an opportunity to practice, remain competitive, because to my earlier point, time is short now for some of these teams. For the Bolts specifically, they've got 1 week before, I guess a week and a half, depending on when they're going to be scrimming around holiday and vacation time, but not much time to get things up and running, especially going up against the Camelot Kings.
Right? A team, after what we saw earlier, I'd be a little worried having to play against the Kings at any point the rest of the year.
I wonder if people...
Postseason Kings are dangerous.
Do you think the Kings suddenly... I wonder if they become Phase 3 playoff favorites after a set like they had earlier on today. Because we haven't seen... I mean, we saw some funkiness out of the Dragons on Saturday.
And the Leviathans on Saturday.
So
maybe, and the Leviathans on Friday.
So maybe it's my brain, like recency bias.
Yeah,
almost,
very much.
I
do think. I think that it is kind of what you said, but they made a change specifically for postseason, right? Like that they weren't trying to do something crazy. Like, admittedly, they could have still potentially stolen second in this last week, but that would depend on the Dragons losing as well as the Kings winning. And so they got their wins. I think that even though it didn't quite go the way they wanted to maybe leapfrog up into second, that is a change that was made for the long form. It was made for the postseason. And I think that the postseason Smite that we're about to get is going to be insane, right? With the way the Dragons, the Leviathans, the Kings have been looking, the Warriors have been looking, I think that those are 4 teams that are going to be very, very consistent. Would not surprise me if those are the 4 that make it past the Phase 3 playoffs. And that's why teams like the Bolts, I mean, much like you had said, you look at the Bolts, I'm looking at the Titans a little bit earlier. A little bit of time in the oven, right? You got to spend some time cooking up whatever you need, and you need to get to the point where that list of 4 that I just put you against isn't almost always going to feel like it's going to beat out the other 2.
Oh, the Valkyries, all right, we got to learn to adapt to heavy Hunter ban priority towards Wowie, because Wowie's played a lot of Ishtar and a little Cernunnos when it's not been Ishtar. Good news for the Valkyries is, given that ban state, you still get Ymir Cupid as your duo lane, which is a very, very high pressure and strong lane. And I think when we talk about the Valkyries and their growth through the year, Wowie and Gamma tend to be where some of that spotlight is placed. Because remember in Phase 1 we were talking about how Wowie was like
he had
5
a
or
0.6
6
KDA.
Right? He had gone like 5 or 6 straight games without a kill as an ADC. And it was not a good look for the Valkyries, and I know Wowie himself probably realized it wasn't great.
Yes.
Since then, I think has grown and adapted quite nicely and becomes a viable win condition for this team.
I do think, like, again, to highlight it, the difference was, again, like 0.6 at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
And to highlight what a 0.6 KDA means, that means that your deaths are higher than kills and assists combined, right? Like, all of a sudden, you're not even able to match 1 death to 2 assists. So, like, your team's just not getting kills, and you're not getting kills. And as you had highlighted, it had been several games. Take that, the lowest KDA, not just on his team, but in the league, to now top KDA for the Valkyries for Wowie. I think that it has been a very, very big shift. Lowest KDA is Gamma on the team, but that doesn't mean much. It's a support. That's pretty much standard across everybody except for
a lot of Ymir.
Twig, I believe, and Twig is the one who has that listed as the lowest there for the Kings. So he's been doing a lot. I think that we've watched Kiermi come in pretty hot and has managed to get even hotter throughout this game. I think that the team has coalesced into a very accomplished roster. And like you said, it was with a lot of weight on their shoulders in Phase 1. And while it might not change a lot right here, I do think that they are in a really fun spot for this last game. Just to kind of showcase what we expect to see of them. Maybe it's a win, maybe it's not. I think that they were able to 2-0 the Bolts earlier this phase.
Yep.
It was a massive win for them when they were able to find something like that. And so the question is, one, was that a one-time thing, or can they find it again?
Yeah.
The other half of it is going to be, what kind of note do you leave us with, since we're not going to see you for over a month?
Raw is the answer, Gore.
Raw.
That was really good, actually.
Thanks.
That was fantastic.
I practice a lot.
Do you?
With Raw, I do, actually.
Can you
Every
advance,
time
I'm
he
sure.
is in my game, or if I'm playing him, I'd make a Raw voice.
Well, Benny Q has played a couple of games of Raw in the last week or so. 2 for 2, Gore. You're on it. One of those was a win against the Solar Scarabs, one a loss against the Jade Dragons. just a couple of days ago. And there's plenty of setup around it, Gore, because that's often what we talk about. Searing Pain, big burst damage ultimate, need it to hit. And so what do you set up around it? You got a freeze from Ymir, set up with Bologna, conditional stuns for Cupid. So Benny Q has some facilitators this game.
Yeah, I honestly think that it's going to be fun to watch just because, like you said, there's a lot of setup for him, right? Ymir freeze into a raw ult is very easy. Bologna stun into a raw ult, very easy follow-up. Although I'm going to give Benny Q some credit.
Yes.
We have seen him throw it out like randomly over walls and get kills with it. So I think that this is just a good raw pick for him in general.
I agree. I think Benny Q, and because that might have been the qualifier tournament when Benny started to go crazy on Ra. It was a treat to watch then. And I think, if you start to look at, okay, what are some identities and team comps that these teams can build around moving into, for the Valks, what will be group stages, that type of Ra composition is something like only the Valks are playing right now. Now, for other teams, it still could be Ymir, Cupid, Bologna, just someone different in mid. It's the same core of different comps, just Ra specifically.
Wasn't it this
Feels
time
very
last year? I think that it was the Kings that were like they kept running like
same
Kukulkan,
idea.
Ra, but they always had like the Naja to set up
Ymir,
BMT.
Well, it's maybe what the Valks wanted. Naja ends up getting banned by the Bolts here. So the core of the comp, the setup is very similar, but the Ra specifically feels a bit different here for the Valkyries. And I let out some excitement a second ago. Don Zaburo, Gore.
Yeah.
Locked in for the Olympus
And it's not
Bolts.
Panda Cat.
And
That's
it's
the
not Panda Cat.
wildest part about it.
Yeah, it's Bera. It's like an aggressive pick for Bera. And this is not a slight towards him. This is his play style tends to be slower, a bit more methodical, scale up later into the game. This is an opportunity. If Bera is able to get a lead, we'll see if he can push down the gas.
It's actually really interesting you say that, though, because he's tied, at least going into this week, he was tied with the most amount of first bloods this phase.
All right.
But it is worth mentioning. It was like 6. They were in a slump, but for some reason, Bera kept finding first bloods in the game. The duo lane pressure was always there. Panatom caught up to him recently. I wouldn't be surprised. I can't remember off of yesterday, but would not be surprised if that's where those numbers shift and, a jungler ends up usually taking most first bloods in a phase. But Bera's up there at 8. Wowie's the top first blood grabber killer for his team. And so I think that, honestly, I would not be surprised if the duo lane ends up being a little explosive. I mean, Athena, Danza feels like it could taunt people in. Ymir, Cupid, while not as deadly and maybe as big of a kill lane as like Ymir on her used to be, I still think it has a ton of merit to it and a ton of fight. And if you're talking about early rotations, I mean, I'm seeing set mid versus the Raw. There are going to be a lot of rotations, and if they're going to duo, there's going to be some bloodbath on the left side of the map.
Yeah, but I'm glad you bring up Set versus Ragor, because I wonder if there's potential for kill pressure over in mid as well. We know how Set can bully standard sit-back mages. Now, eventually, Benny can sustain up a bit through maybe a little bit of the poke that Ven is throwing out, but Set versus Ra maybe opens up opportunities for Lancelot to come to mid, things like that. But you can never count out the full burst of the Benny Q Ra. One big Searing Pain hits Ven. Suddenly, Gore, that lane can be flipped.
Yeah, I honestly think that that's going to be one of the more fun matchups to watch just because of what we've seen. I mean, Set in a matchup like this more often than not should have the advantage. But that's in a 1v1, right? And like you said, it's assuming that there's not like some big Searing Pain to maybe make a play, turn things around. When you start factoring in, okay, well, Athena taunt onto the Raw feels really good into the set, but then a freeze can slow the set down. I think the supports are going to add a really deep dynamic to that mid lane matchup. I would not be surprised if it ends up being less about like a 2v2 or a 3v3 in mid and ends up, again, kind of gravitating over to the side. How many rotations we see from the set onto left, how many rotations do we see from the Raw, and how many abilities are they hitting to make that difference?
Yeah, plenty of X's and O's to be run over in the mid lane. It is our final look at both the Olympus Bolts and the Valhalla Valkyries for the year. And to take a peek, we'll go down to J-Mac and Trelly.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is the final regular season game of the year, the last game 1 of the regular season for Season 9. And it's J-Mac and Trelly to bring you the action. So we jump in with the Olympus Bolts and the Valhalla Valkyries to be that final game. Now, if you dial back to the beginning of the phase, Trelly, Valkyries actually got a win over the Olympus Bolts. It's one of the only 2 wins that the Valkyries have so far this phase. So maybe a little bit of revenge here for the Olympus Bolts to try and claim that title back.
Yeah, you got to imagine that's where their head's at. And also, just the fact that, you know, hashtag Valkyries, this would have been, if it came down to this
man, it would've
matchup,
been
can you,
so
can you
good.
imagine how cool it would have been if sixth place, which team had to go through the qualifiers once again, was relying on this matchup? But the Bolts, they were just too good. I mean,
They're just built different.
Yeah, just built a little different. They were able to build up just a bit of space between themselves and the Valhalla Valkyries. But as you said, maybe just want to get that revenge. Maybe just want to pull ahead just a little bit. At the very least, find that win. We've seen this start a lot where both supports have just decided to give up their own purple buffs and go for the invade. And that's been making the ADC's lives a little miserable. They don't get their own purple buff. They don't get that extra bit of farm. But still, once all of the wave is cleared, you know, it doesn't change too much. The lane with pressure is going to be getting pressure, and usually that's going to go over to the lane with Ymir, but it seems like Bara just got here a bit earlier, so we'll hit level 2 first, and Wowie and Gamma don't have to back up.
You know what? ADCs have had it too good for too long, Charlie. They've always had a buff on their side of the map, aside from one brief moment where purple buff went to your support.
And they were a bore.
And it was, it was a long time ago, but ADCs have always had something on this side that they get a half for themselves. Let the supports have a little bit of fun every so often. You know what? They get a buff. They don't get a whole lot of experience from taking those buffs, but they at least get a buff now, and they don't have to sit there and be the one who soaks up the timer for the other buff. You know, you get the green buff and you sit there and you go, okay, well now you have purple buff forever, but now you have a little bit more than that.
It was 2 boars, right? That's what it was. On the left side of the map, it was like those little 2 boars. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while.
It's been so long.
Yeah,
that was like season 3, I think, too.
I must say, I'm a big fan of purple buff Indraceptor. You know, I think those are
That's
two.
nice.
I think those are some good combos. Supports get their green buffs now. And look at this. Awesome Jake could just solo the Harpies because he's got the scepter.
feels good.
And Barrett could go over and be a bully on the Danzaburo. Fun matchup, by the way. I'm excited to see how Barrett decides to use the racket to play into the Whoopit. I mean, Wowie, one of his, I'm just going to say his most iconic gods, that or maybe the CERN. And he loves this pick, so should be an interesting matchup. Both of these ADCs do like to get aggressive and take those 1v1 trades whenever they're given to them. I just think Danza, I'm favoring the Danza in the 1v1, but team fight-wise, of course, that's when Cupid's really going to get that extra value.
Purple buff, small minion invade, at least by the Athena from Awesome Jake. We'll be able to get one of them away. Taunts only Wowie, so it shouldn't be any steal potential, considering that Hand of the Gods still available for Gamma. He will use that one to secure purple for Wowie this time around. So now for Barracuda and Wowie, they get their respective buffs. You don't have to worry about losing out on that one too much unless we see some rotations from mid, which is something that was kind of touched on the desk, was potential rotations from Ven and BennyQ, decent mobility on both these gods to maybe try and make some early waves over to the left side. We've already seen Lasbra come over there one time to help with the scepter. So I'll be keeping my eyes on the mid, or I should say the mid laners, and see where they go.
Yeah, definitely. With Ven on the set, I think tremendous rotation potential, and especially if, great wall, by the way, from Gamma to make sure that taunt doesn't go through. If BennyQ gets caught out in the jungle, I'm pretty sure, assuming Ven is level 5, should just die. Like, if no one's around, Raw does not want to take a 1v1 trade versus a set early on. The slow immunity can help, but set just brings so much damage, especially if that heal is not going to be available. Gamma's just waiting for the taunt every single time just to make this lane miserable for Barracuda. He wants to collect his gold. He wants to hit that first ability and get some extra racks. And Gamma says, no extra gold for you.
It's going to be a little bit difficult for Gamma Wow in that lane, maybe until level 5 comes around. Wow has access to that Fields of Love. Maybe then punish Jake and Barracuda for their aggression there. Kiermi will make his first rotation over towards mid to help out BennyQ. Get a little bit of early aggro into the mid lane, puts Venenu at least in the tier 1 tower for a little while. Lasbra, still yet to be seen so far on this landslide. Again, he came over for the first scepter rotation. Besides that, it's pretty much just been farm within the jungle, really for both of the junglers of these teams. We haven't seen them get active into either of these lanes, and now the level 5s have hit. Maybe once they go back to base, just maybe we can see one of them rotate into one of these lanes for a kill.
Yeah, Kiermi, on the Hunbats, I think level 5 isn't exactly your strong suit. Once you finish that Jotun's Wrath, if that is the item you're going for, and usually it is for that extra CDR, you get a lot more freedom with Fear No Evil, but up until that point, the cooldown just extremely long, and you want to make sure that mace item is finished beforehand. Kimmy will go back to base now. He does finish the Jotun's Wrath, and now you're kind of okay with pressing 4. Because if you press it before, you're like, oh yeah, I got the beads down, but my ult cooldown is almost matched by your beads timer this early on. So you don't even have that much freedom to find that counter gank opportunity. But with the Jotuns, with the extra CDR, maybe Kirmi will try to let it go a little bit more frugally. On the right side of the map, Baskin does have the beads, and you'd think trying to play through Aquarius could be something that Kirmi wants to go for. Baskin is killable. I mean, he's got the Tainted Steel in the Book of Thoughts, so not too tanky. It's usually the amount of sustain that these Hades bring that make you not want to look towards that side, but with Aquarius, the Shoguns, the extra attack speed could help out if they want to try and fight over on the blue buff.
To be honest, I'm surprised that Benny didn't pull the trigger for that snipe when Veneno was backing under the tier 1 tower in plain daylight, but more disciplined than I would. I would have fired the snipe. Raw's ultimate cooldown's not that long, even this early. He's got a little bit of CDR. Hey, just fire that out when you get a shot. Does go back for a Charon's coin for himself.
Would you have hit it, though?
Probably not. They probably would have saw that I was going for, and they would have side sets and been like, really, dude?
And then you
Why go for your
would have
ult?
been sad after that.
Then I would have been sad. But hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Yep, so if that's the call, then I understand. And it looks like Benny Q still does have that ultimate just in case. Hey, what if Awesome Jake comes in right now for a dash taunt? Hold that thought. Barracuda going to be forced out of those beats. Good gank from Kirmi. No follow-up. Doesn't look like that's going to be able to hit. Barracuda should be just fine. Loses the beats to the ultimate from Kirmi and gets the blink down as well.
Able to walk out the fields of love, but Aquarius can't walk away from 3 Olympus Bolts who are diving his tier 1 tower. First blood this time around goes over to the Olympus Bolts, and who better to put on than Lasbro, one of the star players for the Olympus Bolts. You get him off to a good game. It's definitely going to be a great start for the Olympus Bolts. Meanwhile, Gam on the opposite side, after at least pushing Barracuda under the tower and alleviating some pressure for WoW, able to seal away a couple of offerings for his team.
And you want to make sure you get that first trebuchet. You can always open up the map with it if you decide to use it on, whichever lane you get. So having the Valhalla Valkyries try and grab it early on, I think going to be a smart call. Gamma sitting around that purple buff and the offerings in particular, just to make sure you can confirm those when they come up. But because Barracuda lost the beats, does have to give a little bit of respect over here to Wowie. Probably realized that Gamma could be close by, especially with that purple buff respawning. And you don't want to get caught out. A good wall makes sure that Barrac could be in some trouble, as well as having no beads. But looks like Awesome Jake is going to make the rotation over. Just going to drop a ward for his ADC, not actually going to help him invade a purple buff or anything like that. And I think that's the correct call, because the Athena Danza doesn't have a great time fighting in the game of the wall. Just stops a lot of what you want to do with that 2v2.
Okay, so we have the Whoopid. That's kind of the signature name for Wowie's Cupid over there. Now Barra doesn't play this god very often, but do we coin a name for Barracuda's Danza Burrow? And if we do, is it the Danzacuda or is it the Barra Burrow?
I don't like the fact that we have to give the full name. Awesome Jake. He's going to try to get aggressive here with the wraparound from Lasbra.
Kirmi jumps away, feels the love down. Joust is in by Lasbra, just off the mark for the damage, and a Fear No Evil from Kirmi will push Lasbra away, and that should be enough for the Olympus Bolts and for the Valkyries to both get out of this battle unscathed, unless the taunt from is good on the Gamma, and Venenu teleporting in off a rotation from mid. Sets up for one. Benny Q is here, but nobody low enough for one of those snipes to connect. The Olympus Bolts just come up with one pick.
Yeah, great slow by Lasbra to make sure that Ven was going to be able to catch Gamma underneath that tower. I didn't even realize that Ven had that much dive potential, but there's a lot of range on that Sandstorm set clone combo. He's able to get in and get out unscathed. Second kill goes to the Olympus Bolts, and they're going to have about a 1,000 gold lead, sitting just fine for the moment. I thought maybe Kirmi was going to be the target there, but he was able to avoid the majority of the damage from the Olympus Bolt, and unfortunately for Benny Q, did make the rotation, but could not match the way that Set can make that rotation. Just a little bit faster, has more mobility. Ven getting there first means that the Valkyries should be losing that fight every time.
Baskin versus Aquarius, probably not going to get too much value over to this side unless we see another rotation over by the Olympus Bolts to try and shut down this Bologna, or vice versa. Maybe one from the Valkyries to keep Baskin at bay. Has gone for a little bit of damage early on, or I should say a lot of damage. Book of Thoth started for Baskin. Just the standard Hades build going up against Aquarius. But it feels like Aquarius has been holding his own over in this lane. I mean, he was rotated on, died for first blood. The gold bounty at least went over to Lasbra, but Aquarius is actually the one in the lead with experience over Baskin right now.
Yeah, I think teleport should net you a little bit of an XP lead in the early, even if you're falling to a gank, just because, you know, you're able to get back. You get poked out once, come back immediately, and you should be able to push a lane or two underneath. Gamma is going to get taunted and take a skewer, but with the heals from Benny, you should be just fine. 10 minutes rolled by, so Pyromancer has touched down. That's why we're seeing a bit of a scrap towards this right side of the map. With the amount of sustain from both of these teams through Baskin and Benny Q respectively, you could go for this call pretty easily at the Pyromancer and it would not do too much damage. But it looks like because of the incredible amounts of burst as well as CC on both sides, if Kirmi goes in with Fear No Evil, all of your confirm goes away. If Awesome Jake gets a nice dash taunt and Gamma doesn't have the wall, all of your confirm goes away. So probably a good call to put some vision down, make sure you're aware of the Pyromancer, but neither one of these teams want to commit to it just yet.
So far, with just the 2 kills, the Olympus Bolts have been able to net about a 1K gold lead early on in this game. Experience still kind of bouncing back and forth, as mentioned earlier on. Soul Lane, only about a half-level difference between them. Lazarus slightly up over Kirmi thanks to the First Blood bounty. Dash taunt by Jake onto Wowie. And all this over some Oracle Harpies. Rocket fired out by Barra. Where will he pilot it to? It's the Wowie in the backline. A full dive on the Cupid. It's not going to be enough because Kirmi has turned it back around. It's a 1-for-1 trade as Wowie goes down to Venatu, but Benny Q turns this one for his team. It's now 3-for-1 for the Valhalla Valkyries. And Awesome Jake may just be the 4th. Heal down for Benny Q, freeze for Gamma, beam for Benny, double for the mid.
Did Ven just jump into a fully charged Shards of Ice on purpose? I think he thought that maybe he could try and save Lasbra there, but it just did not work out. They are able to get the 1 kill onto Wowie, but you're losing the Fury in the process. Bit off a little bit more than they could chew there. The Olympus Bolts are going to lose that Fury and now down about 1,000 gold. Neither one of these solo laners wanted to rotate in. Seems like Baskin and Aqua okay with just farming up, but the Valhalla Valkyries, off of a great snipe from Benny Q and, in this case, a well-timed ultimate from Gamma, I guess, are able to win that fight handedly.
Yeah, maybe a small misplay there from Venatu to dive back in there. Sure, you got the pick onto Wowie. You put the Cupid down, cool, but you end up having all 4 of your players die who were in that fight. Soul Laners are looking from the other side going,
What they doing over there?
What's happening? You need it? No? All right, you know, we're just going to stay over here and keep our farm going up. So Aquarius gets to soak up some passive farm from the Gold Fury and from this Pyromancer that the team has started up for the Valkyries. Leashed away, though, as Baskin's made his rotation in. Aquarius spots that one out and lets the team know.
Yeah, probably a smart call. Baskin didn't have a second relic, but with Beads and Pillar of Agony up, could have made some noise over on that side of the map. But Awesome Jake and Barracuda will be able to grab the tier 1 tower over on left while the Pyromancer gets started up once again. Benny Q has the ultimate for confirm, but Ben has the set clones for vision.
Does throw them out, but doesn't get anything with it. Pyromancer to the Valhalla Valkyries. Still keeps them around that 1K lead that they had just earlier on, though with the tier 1 tower, a bit of that mitigated by the Olympus Bolts. Venatu will go back to base. With not much up on the map to really do, it should just return to a state of farm. Though look at the state of Venatu's tower. Almost gone now, only standing on maybe a single brick left holding that tower up. Totem of Ku has been going to Olympus Bolts, and it looks like that's where a lot of the gold has been coming to help them out as they've fallen behind to the Valkyries now, is that extra passive gold that Baskin's been able to get for the squad.
Yeah, and he's been able to try and invade a blue buff as well, but Benny Q will be able to get that tower down, as Baskin did steal away that blue buff. Kirmi's here, though, and Baskin does not have too much HP to work with. Doesn't realize Kirmi's here, but here comes Awesome Jake.
Pillar of Agony, and look at the lifesteal coming back through. It's forced jump out by Kirmi. Jake misses the dash damage, but gets it with the help of Reach and Baskin, and now Lasbra and Venatu have shown us to the party, but a triple freeze by Gamma may have just saved his life. Ultimate from Benny Q. Does hit a couple, but the heals keeping him alive. The pushback, not enough, but the damage is still good. The Olympus Bolts will now round around Gamma. A taunt back in, but Gamma should have the timing
Good
for
fear.
another big freeze. Massive fear, but another triple freeze from Gamma. He is too good with them, and another wall will hold everything back, and maybe even Aquarius can turn this one around. A beads preemptively, but a taunt back in. Aqua still manages to get one in the middle of 3. A wall up, another freeze. This one beats away by last. Shards of Ice will take down Ven again, and Aqua has made it out. The rotation from WoW, he picks up a double.
That is absolutely massive. The fear there from Baskin was able to save Awesome Jake from the bludgeon, but not enough to save him from the second bludgeon, and then the Scourge after the fact. And what a beautiful series of plays there. I'm amazed that Kirmi even called for that gank. When you see a Hades with Bancrofts and a full wave and you have 0 anti-heal, you do not go for that gank. It just will not work out. It shouldn't work out. Baskin was able to just solo out Kirmi almost, and the rotation in from Awesome Jake made sure to keep that Hades alive. But then Gamma comes in, and Gamma comes in clutch. 2 triple freezes from the Ymir, as well as the rotation in from Wowie. Make sure that once again the Valkyries got the better end of that trade, and all things considered, the Bolts should have gotten in, got their picks, and got out, but took a little bit too long to try and clean up those kills.
It's too clean, man. Just too clean on this Ymir so far in game number 1 for Gamma. Triple man freezes in the last fight, another extra double one, forced out, I think, 2 different sets of beads during the entirety of that duration, just on his own merit alone. Sets up for Aquarius to be able to not only live throughout that fight, but be able to pick up a kill of his own. You know, he has fallen a little bit behind in the solo. Valkyries, though, still maintaining a very small lead, only about 700-800 gold to their name above the Olympus Bolts, even despite the carnage that we had on the right side of the map.
Yeah, there was some carnage. XP-wise, Benny Q is able to climb up a level in the mid lane, whereas Wowie's also a level in the mid lane, despite rotating over towards that fight. Awesome Jake gonna go for the taunt on a Gamma. I don't imagine that nets anything. The rest of the Valks are grouped up, minus Aquarius, who's rotating in from behind towards this Fury. Primal Fury spawns in shortly. If you're trying to go for a 50-50, pressure's got to be put onto Benny Q. That ultimate, still one of the best confirms on the map, barring a miraculous fear in from Baskin. And it looks like the Valks aren't ready to force it just yet. They want to stay back, and they want to try and wait to see who steps up. Ven actually gets forced out of the beads immediately. Great ultimate there from Wowie.
Yeah, Fields of Love now down. Benny is the primary confirmation on the Primal Fury, but they may not
That's
even
done.
need the ultimate because they have shredded through the health bar of the objective. Primal Fury to the Valhalla Valkyries. Can they get even more from this, though? Jake will walk by. Gamma gets not only the offering with the freeze, but also onto Awesome Jake. This does put the Valkyries up just a little bit more now, 1,500 gold up ahead of the Olympus Bolts. Soul Laner's not even really needed during that. Aquarius and Baskin were just kind of farming up mid while the, I guess, non-existent fight was really happening around the pit.
Yeah, it was just a very quick burn there from the Valks, and I think a bit of respect from the Olympus Bolts, realizing their steal potential didn't look too good. Benny Q was able to hold on to the ultimate, but if he had to, definitely had the confirmation there because of the fact that Baskin was in mid lane and there was no one else that was going to be stepping up for that objective. But Awesome Jake has been sitting around this duo lane for a bit, I think because of the global presence from the Athena, could always just ult in if there ever was a brawl. But because of it, Vera consistently gets behind in this lane. Has been duo farming a lot of these waves, whereas Wowie has just been sitting by his lonesome. He's at level 17, 2 kills and 3 assists. This Cupid has been a lot more impactful in these fights so far, but finally, Barracuda's making the rotation over to Pryor.
Laz walled away. Forced out of beads by Gamma. Great freeze from the support of the Valkyries. Gets yet another relic away from the Bolts. It's still 40 seconds till Venenu has his beads back up. The Bolts might just be able to get this Pyromancer. Dash in by Jake. Taunt only hits Wowie. Pyromancer has been leased. Baskin has found 2 inside of his ultimate, but a quick dash out from Wowie. Now Baskin's in danger, but gets some assistance from his support. Rocket goes through to the backline onto Wowie, and it's Venenu who grabs the kill this time around. The Olympus Bolts get 2 plus a Pyro.
Yeah, looks like that's all they're going to be able to grab, but they're happy with it. Pick on a Wowie, pick on a Gamma, and the Pyromancer goes down. Benny Q was smart, stuck around just in case the Fire Giant got pulled, but with no form of sustain, definitely couldn't go for it right away. You want to make sure you've got some decent vision, though, on that side of the map. Gamma's still level 13, so we'll be respawning here shortly in about 8 seconds, and that's going to be it. The rest of the teams, they're spreading out. They're going back to what they were doing. So the Bolts will be able to catch up a bit in the gold department with that Pyromancer and the picks, more notably Wowie, out of both relics at the moment, so this Cupid is going to have to watch the positioning. It was a good dash ton in from Awesome Jake, but it seemed like there was no follow-up. It was what happened after that fight that really made sure that Wowie went down, and a good ultimate from Baskin, forcing that dash outward. This Hades, level 19, has been farming real effectively and has a Book of the Dead now as well. Tons of damage coming from this solo laner.
Good damage, good sustain and survivability as well. As you mentioned, Book of the Dead grants a pretty hefty shield. If even needed, but it didn't seem like Baskin needed during that last little fight. 90 seconds to the relics for Wowie, but it's the Valkyries making the aggressive play. Teleported by Kirmi, just to get some damage onto Jake, but Jake's pretty tanky at this stage of the game. Lazar frozen, beam
Wow.
1 hits. And I'm honestly surprised Benny did not pull the trigger and go for that snipe. That would have 100% killed the jungler.
Yeah, either he thought his beads were up, or he thought that the ult was going to come a little bit sooner, because with the Sunder and that one, yeah, that ultimate definitely would have been able to put Lasbro away. His bead's still gone for 30 seconds, but at least he's in base, which means he's not going to be here to try and defend this Fire Giant. Benny Q didn't ult then, so he's got it now for the confirm.
He's gonna need it for confirm. Fire Giant pulled away from to double ult onto Awesome Jake, who's still alive through all of it. Fields of Love even used for that one. Snipe comes through for Benny Q, but it only clips Baskin, who gets a proc from his Book of the Dead, but the turnaround damage is too much. Great freeze for Gamma, delays the inevitable, but it's a triple kill for Baskin, 1 for Barra, and even 1 for Ven throughout that. A full wipe of the Valkyries, and the Bolts can now take the Fire Giant.
That is an incredible turnaround there from the Bolts, because all things considered, that fight did not look too good, but Baskin surviving so long, it just seems like the Pillar of Agony. The Valks keep thinking, oh, it's about to end, we're gonna kill him. Then the Book of the Dead shield comes in, like, oh, it's okay, we've got anti-heal. And then it channels the entire ability, and after that, the burst is too real. Then also going to the back line absolutely deletes the carries of the Valks. All off a pick onto Awesome Jake that the Olympus Bolts, they're fine with. If you're using that many ultimates to kill an Athena, you probably don't have them up to stop the rest of the fight. And now the Olympus Bolts able to push down the tier 2 in mid, while Ven is trying to grab the tier 2 over and right. Don't want to stick around too long, but once both those towers are down, there's going to be a Gold Fury up, and it's going to be a massive swing in gold in favor of the Olympus Bolts.
5,000 gold, nearly 10k experience to the Olympus Bolts. Add a little bit more gold now. Gold Fury respawning in, and the Bolts immediately on top of that. But even tiling back to that fight, Sean, I mean, it was an Eagles rally, a Fear No Evil, and a Fields of Love all used to try and kill Awesome Jake. It wasn't until, I believe, the Heart Bomb was the final bit of damage that actually took him down, but you're right to point out, when you're spending that much to kill a level 14, 15 Athena, it just feels like you're not using the rest of it for the actual fight that comes after. I mean, Baskin was essentially unchecked with that Book of the Dead going through that fight.
Yeah, my man's 5-0. Baskin does not have a care in the world. Once he gets that Spectral Armor, he'll actually not have a care in the world, because all of Wowie's crits, he'll be mitigating and just not doing too much damage. It seems like the physical attackers are the ones that are trying to target out this Hades. If Benny Q is sniping Baskin, the fight is probably lost because of how much he's able to sustain and tank up. I mean, the Valk's composition is basically tons of CC and using these big team fight ultimates to get a pick. If they can do that, it works great. But they have just learned the crucial problem with that comp, and if the pick is onto a tank, an Awesome Jake, the rest of these damage dealers are going to go unchecked.
Benny Q knows what his damage output is against Lasbra, at least. Gotta imagine that's pretty even up against Venenu and Barracuda as well. So if they can get a good freeze combo, a good freeze from Gamma into a 1-ult combo, that should almost be enough to 2-tap one of these carries. Maybe a little bit of extra assistance would be needed. The Olympus Bolts are slow playing this Fire Giant, slow playing the Phoenix push. The freeze is off the mark. Benny Q trusted the freeze though, throws out the snipe. Gets some good poke onto Barracuda. Now the Olympus Bolts can sit back and wait for the next wave to come in.
Yeah, whether he trusted the freeze or not, Benny hit them both. It's just you probably couldn't tell because they're already healed back up because of that Fire Giant regen. I was talking about their comp. You need to get a burst kill. If not, the lifesteal, the healing, the sustain will come through, and Gamma feeling the chunk of that damage as well. He doesn't have as much sustain, but once Benny Q drops the heal, could be just fine. But Kirby finds an ult on the Lasbra.
Good double stun though. Lasbra finds the ult just in time to make his way out. But Venenu is fairly healthy in this fight. Beam just off the mark by Benny, the snipe. Also, just to the left. Not able to find the hit there up against Venenu. Barra and Jake back to near full HP. The Fire Giant, the self-sustain that Don Zaburo has kept Barracuda nice and healthy during this fight. Another taunt in, that one's walled away. Awesome Jake tanking up the Phoenix. Won't take it for very long. Barracuda swaps over to this one with a Sunder out by Gamma. Feels like it should be the disengage from the Bolts.
Yeah, they've got about 15 more seconds to try and poke at this with Fire Giant. And because Baskin has been in mid lane the whole time, that Phoenix is looking a little bit less healthy at this point, but not crazy enough. Not enough that a Hades could actually solo it out. And it looks like that'll be the end. You still get plenty of gold, don't get me wrong. Not a wasted Fire Giant by any stretch of the meaning. They got themselves 3 tier 2s and a Gold Fury. That is going to put a bunch of change in their pockets. But you'd love to break the base. So I think the Olympus Bulls realize now they got to put a little bit more respect onto these freezes from Gamma. And if they are going to commit to a fight like that, Baskin needs to be with them. Because while he was in mid, yeah, he poked maybe 700 damage onto that Phoenix. But it's just going to get healed up by the time they get the next Fire Giant. And you got to imagine having that Hades over the left side of the map with them for the CC and more specifically the threat of Pillars of Agony might have done them a bit better. But setting up for this next Fire Giant, the Olympus Bolts currently have 3 sentry wards in tow. They want to get as much vision on this side of the map as possible before the Valks decide to step up.
Be a little over 10 seconds till Fire Giant crashes back onto the map. The Valkyries have all grouped together. Gamma even picking up a Magi's cloak this time to immune that first dash taunt in by Jake, or that first fear maybe from Baskin. See how long Gamma gets to maintain that bubble. His walls have been on point to zone Awesome Jake away, to keep his team from being pulled in by that confound. We'll see if he can make another play for his team. Keep your eyes on Lasbra and Baskin, who are going for the loop around. Taunting onto BennyQ. Beads gone from the Raw. That's the call for Baskin. A Fields of Love will force the beads out. BennyQ is gone. And now Wowie and Kirmi are also on the chopping block. Kirmi first, Wowie second. That's a double kill for Venenu. Aquarius ults in place to stun 3. But how long can this god live? Not very long. A triple kill for Venenu, 1 for Lasbra, another deicide for the Bolts. And who cares about a Fire Giant? The Bolts are going to march up and just end game 1.
I mean, just a perfectly choreographed gank, right? Benny has to step up because he wants to try and put some pressure with the ultimate. Doesn't matter, gets pushed in by Lasbra. Once the beads go down, a beautiful catch by Baskin with the Pillars of Agony, and Ven's in the back line chopping away with the Kingslayer. And it just seemed like the Olympus Bulls drafted the composition for a fight just like that. If Barra could have gotten the rocket and chased him down too, he would have, but a good wall from Gamma made sure the chase didn't ensue, but Ven's already back there. I mean, the set just does too much damage.
Yeah, Venenu was popping off on the set through pretty much all stages of the game. This even goes all the way back to that dual lane gank very early on in the game, where Venenu's able to dive into the tower, grab the last little bit of the kill there, but set up by the remainder of his team in order to make sure that he can get that one. Baskin essentially going unchecked this game is probably my takeaway from this one. If you're going to give the Hades over, sure, there was a heal to deal with it, but you might want a little bit more burst or maybe pay a little more attention to him, because Baskin going unchecked cannot happen in game number 2. We'll see if the Valkyries can bring it back and maybe take us to game 3, or the Bolt's going to sweep it away in game 2 right after this.
Cause I don't recognize you anymore. Once sweet and caring, now cold and calculated. You can't be trusted. You want the world for your own. You want maximum profit. You asking me to come through, kick it with you. Night turn into morning dew. Then you feel it rushing in, lose control. You don't wanna go slow. For sure, we both already know your place is my place. No, my place is your place. Let's face it, baby. You know all the places. Places, my place is your place. My place, your place, my place. Just face it. No one knows my places like you do. Your places like I do. My place like you do. Baby, don't stop. Got the key to the lock. We in our own zone. Make yourself at home. Get to know mine on the inside. We can meet at yours next time. And you feel it rushing in. Lose control. You don't wanna go slow. For sure, we both already know your place is my place. Now my place is your place. Let's face it, baby. You know all the places. Places, my place is your place. Your place is my place. Just face it. No one knows my places like you do. Your places like I do.
We are back after game number 1 goes to the Olympus Bolts over the Valhalla Valkyries. This one had a little bit of everything. Great initiation and a whole lot of fun from both teams. And ladies and gentlemen, join me one final time for the regular season of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League and taking a journey through all of the benefits that you get with Prime. Prime Gaming with us here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League all year long, and they could be with you at home while you play your games, and you get free stuff in those games and get new free games to play every single month, including right now an Avatar The Last Airbender cosmetic bundle for SMITE. And my personal favorite that I will shill out for once again is Fallout New Vegas, free this month with your Prime Gaming membership. So thanks again to Prime for being with us all year long. And that was it. One final time, Prime Gaming with us and with you at home as well. My name is Dolson. Gormeiser's with me. I appreciate it, Gore.
I'm trying to make sure the audio's picked up. I don't normally clap this close to my
if nothing
face.
else, the visuals, fantastic. Gore, game number 1. This one, I think it's honestly kind of a typical Valks game where there are moments I'm like, wow, like Valks like fight back in.
There's a
Gamma's
huge
got
rotation
some-
from Wowie at one point.
Wowie rotates out of lane, looks good. Gamma's getting like multi-freezes a million times in a team fight. The set mid looks really good for Ven.
Yeah.
Lancelot has a really nice fight or two from Lasbra. Ultimately, the problem with the other half of Valk's games is that it gets a bit overwhelming from the Bolts.
And I think that's more or less what we got to see here, right? It's just unfortunate for him when you look and see Vin's at 7-2, Baskin's 6-0.
Indeed.
That kind of shows the story in and of itself of how this game went. I mean, you've got two divers that are getting back there regularly, 12 assists on Jake. I think this Athena, honestly, it might have been one of the better looks that we've gotten from Jake in a while, outside of the Nox, right? The Nox has been really kind to the Bolts. I like seeing them play things that are going to be either A, a little closer to the meta, or B, at least fit their style a little bit more. I think Jake got to bring that this time around. Lots of moments of excellent, like you said, from the Valkyries. It just unfortunately falls flat in some of the other team fights, right? And that's a lot brought in by the Hades, by the set, by the Lancelot, the deep dive that the Bolts were able to have, continually able to get to Mini-Q or to Wowie, or to Kirmi even to lock him down. I think there was a lot of, like you said, really good freezes. One insane rotation from Wowie that helps him pick up and even turn a kill and fight around for the Valkyries. But not consistent enough to make it so that the Bolts really felt threatened overall.
Yeah, agreed. Bolts rally around their soul laner, their mid laner, and run over the Valhalla Valkyries. So now potentially one final time we will go into picks and bans here in Season 9, the regular season of the SMITE Pro League. Playoffs, qualifiers, just
Postseason Smite's going to hit so hard. I love postseason Smite.
Isn't it just great? Because, like, in picks and bans for Game 1, when we got to kind of just sit back and have these end-of-year talks about the teams, what's their trajectory, what do they need to work on, what's their path look like.
Battle in our favor.
I've always loved those types of conversations. Realistically, I can sit around for hours and talk about
I know that's true because we have them all the time.
We do. We have them constantly. Because, I mean, we have a lot of great Smite throughout the year, and it all kind of culminates in this one big event. And this year, thank God, we get to have the fans out there with us, so it feels like it's added this extra layer in.
It still doesn't quite feel real to me yet. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure
I know,
it will.
like, we're sold out.
Yeah.
We've got the venue. Like, I'm pretty sure we have our plane tickets and hotel rooms set. I'm still not, like, I haven't hit that zone. Like, playoffs feels really close. Playoffs feels real.
Yeah.
Worlds doesn't feel real yet.
I'm
going to wake up on Christmas morning, and my brain's going to fry because I realize Worlds is like 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away. I mean, right now, Worlds is like 6 weeks away, something like that. 7 weeks away. We're getting there. Honestly, it's gonna feel real the Monday after when everyone's just super sad
because they're just like, man, it's over.
That was super fun.
It can't feel as bad. I will say, and I was actually just talking about this with Billy and Jordan in the back, but like the post 2020 when we finished in here, PK wins, super hype, and then we walked into the break room and it was like us,
the casters, right, and we were sitting around. Oh.
and then I went home that night and I was just home.
Yeah.
That was pretty sad.
Right.
I'll still feel bad that it's over that Monday, but I don't think I'm going to feel that bad.
Right, in a different way. No, so excited for postseason Smite, for qualifiers.
Now all I can think about is Worlds.
I know, I agree. How it all shakes out, how it all is going to build up to Worlds. Because all of it.
How the Valks are going to somehow win the World Championship. Absolutely insane.
Any given Sunday, right? That's what we've said about the Valks all year long. Well, and although Worlds is like the big culmination of all year, it's our individual matches and phases and what will be qualifiers and group stages and all that are building the story that we then talk about at Worlds. All of this in the next month and a half build up to what will ultimately be a really, really amazing experience for everyone who's able to join us and everyone who's going to be watching online. Can't wait to get there. It's been a great year. At least one more match remaining, though, and that's game number 2 here between the Bolts and the Valks, potentially a third if the Valks want to end their phase on a win, or at least another game 3. Ymir, Cupid, Lancelot, so 2 of the 3 same picks for the Valks, adding in Lancelot on their side and Gore on the flip side. Talk about a composition that likes some setup. It's a Vulcan paired with an Amaterasu and an Athena.
Yeah, you get big team fight stunner, big team fight taunter, and big team fight ability guy. You got everything you need. At that point, you just want some facilitators, right? A nice jungle pick for them. Whether it's going to be setup or hyper carry, I think is really the big question. I like seeing Lasbra get on those picks that can do a lot more damage. And I think that actually something like Thor is a really good ban from the Valkyries because it does a little bit of both, right? It does a lot of the setup because you've got stuns out the wazoo, you've got a really good ult, things like that. But your hammer tap, now that the wall does damage on the stun, your Berserker's Barrage, all 3 of those are really helpful in becoming a carry as well. I do like the shift and the attention from the Valkyries to try and limit that in terms of the jungle. It is also nice because they've already got the Lancelot. Most of the like primetime junglers have been limited anyway. Really curious to see where Lasber ends up going. Pele was like the talk of the town early on, still one of the most big gods that the Bolts have so far this phase, but is Pele someone that you can bring out now, right? If she's been gone for 3-4 weeks at this point, is that still something that's going to be able to find the same kind of big punch that the team maybe needs versus, especially what the Lancelot can bring to the table? We've been seeing what Osiris is. Arlong Shin's still available, so I guess he's still technically on the table.
Me looking through Lasbra's last 6 games to get an idea of what he's been playing and seeing the Anubis and the Hera, nearly saying it and then remembering. I'm not gleaning too much from that set. No, definitely not. Thor, Naja, Dashi, I'll take
If he
it.
locked in Anubis, though, wouldn't that be wild? That'd be insane.
Might be Athena jungle, if this is what the hover is. Nah, it's bait. So we're still needing an ADC, we assume. Remember, actually, so rewind with me, if you will, Gore. Was that last? No.
A la Kronos.
It was 2. Yeah, a la Kronos. It was 2 years ago. It was the Ratatosker Apollo meta at Worlds, and the at the time Renegades were like slamming that composition.
Yeah.
And so there is a bit of history with Barracuda and late season Smite and playing Apollo.
If I remember
Tends
as well.
to be paired with a different type of global ultimate.
Yes.
Could be what the Athena is. Certainly would be an interesting way to end the year. Although it might end up just being like this Loki, which would be unique, but more of a jungle style pick.
I was going to look up because if I remember correctly, and maybe I need to look up win rate, not KDA, but the win rate, yeah, for Lazarus Ratatosker is actually pretty wildly high, and so I was thinking that the Daji was already banned.
First time in the phase, score Jingwei.
Jingwei, you know what?
And it's Barracuda. Barracuda loves playing some Jingwei.
All right, so let's just remember 4 games on Loki for Lasbra, 50% win rate, 11.8 KDA though, just because those I wanted to dive into that. But now I absolutely have to know.
Well, this number's going to be a lot bigger, right? The number of Barracuda games.
Just single games played
in his SPL career.
SPL career.
How many has he played on?
116. This will be 117.
Which is crazy considering the way the
his
meta
next
has gone.
highest is 82. That's almost 40. Difference between.
Well, that's like how many sets did we say our teams play each year? Like 30 something, like so.
Yeah.
Granted, 2 or 3 games in each of those sets, things like that.
It's like 120 something games this phase alone.
Right. So he's like half a year of Jingwei games ahead of whatever his second highest pick is. The Valkyries will end their composition with a Merlin. Merlin RuneScape skin, by the way, super cool.
It is
if you haven't gotten in and gotten your hands on the RuneScape event yet, definitely missing out. Did you play RuneScape back in the day?
I've definitely played RuneScape. I was actually talking to Mifflin about this earlier. It wasn't on desk though. Because he was talking about how he had gotten into like some other MMOs at the time.
Yeah.
Like I played Warcraft a ton,
Yeah.
Which is part of why I got into SMITE, because I really liked the like over-the-shoulder camera combat stuff. I know I've definitely played RuneScape.
Yeah.
I could not tell you anything about the game though, and I feel bad about it because obviously it's like a very very big cultural
icon. A lot of tree
icon.
chopping, a lot of ore mining.
I learned to play
a lot of
Sea
sword
Shanty 2
training.
on my
Sea Shanty
small
2,
pipes.
That's right.
Because it's
You
such an
go
iconic
to-
song.
You go to the cow pasture, just outside Lumbridge, and you hang out there for 15 hours and build up your attack stat.
Don't
and then
you
you
have
gather
a friend
all of
who's
the raw
99 on
steaks.
everything?
Yes, one of my friends has maxed out every skill, like 120 on whatever skills can go up there. Just as you at home can be maxing out your skill cape in our RuneScape
There's a
crossover
lot of
event.
capes too.
Lots of capes to get. Gore, let's give some credence to the potentially last draft of the year here.
Yeah, if Merlin has a
Valhalla
cape in this
Valkyries.
game, they win.
He's got a cape, right. Merlin, later game, likes to build up, burn down some targets. You think the Valhalla Valkyries have a cohesive comp here for game 2?
Yeah, I think they've got something that could really genuinely burn down a lot of objectives, right? The minute Merlin comes into the equation, you're going to be talking about Gold Furies, Fire Giants, things like that. Maybe not the same secure that a Vulcan brings, but as terms of can we kill it faster than the other team can get here, Merlin enables that. We saw that actually earlier today. I think with the Ymir, with the Cupid, some of the rotations we saw, I think that the Valkyries have given themselves a really good chance to take the strengths of the last comp, pull them into this game while trying to alleviate some of the pressures that kind of pulled them apart. Unfortunately, Ama helps shred. Vulcan hits hard. I said something about 11.8 KDA there for Loki on Lasbra. That's just frightening.
Can Benny Q on the Merlin get 99 fire making here in game number 2? We'll go down to J-Mac and Trelly to find out.
I didn't get 99 fire making when I played RuneScape. It is my highest skill, though. But I also haven't played the game in a while. Luckily for me, this ain't about RuneScape, and it's about SMITE. So we'll see if the Valkyries can bring this one back and take us to game number 3, or the Olympus Bolts gonna run away with this one. Barracuda on his, 117th game of Jingwei in his career. We'll see if that 117 can be a dub for him. And also see if Lasbra can maybe bump up that KDA. Did he say 11 point? That is a crazy KDA to have on a god, even if it's only for a few games.
Yeah, 11.8 out of, 4 games total, and a 50% win rate at that, which means 2 of those games were losses.
Yeah, that's the wildest part.
I mean, that means that Lasbra just goes kind of crazy. He's no jokey on the Loki.
But he's playing the Froakie skin.
Yeah, that too.
Well, the frog. Froakie.
It's called Croaky, isn't it?
It is Croaky, that's right. You can't call it Froakie, that's a Pokemon.
He's no jokey on the Loki. He'll make you Croaky. Done. And he's going to get lots of kills.
That was a good one.
I'm just like that. That's just what I bring on the last set of Season 9 of regular season of
Maybe
the SPL.
The last game
Why so
could be the last breath for Barracuda. He's got some minions to help him out, and he'll be able to live through that battle. The beads expended by the Hunter, and health potions to try and help sustain him back through. Nearly a kill for the Valks in the first wave.
Yeah, Barracuda, if he's trying to get the most first bloods, not getting first blood should remove one in my mind. But Nedu also
What is happening?
dancing with death at this point with the amount of poke coming from Kirmi and Benny Q. I imagine both of these carries want to stay a little bit back here, dying this early on. Not the start you want. Not the way you want to start the possible last game of the phase. But also, I guess the Valks dropping these kills, right? Because it was close. But I think Barracuda did a great job juking through minions, and Ben was just out of range. Benny Q doesn't quite have enough damage to finish a kill like that. And Kirmi already used the blink, so no way this Vulcan is going to be under too much more pressure. And already, Ben is starting to heal back up.
Bastion in the solo lane on this Amaterasu. See how he can do against the Mulan, which we've seen this Mulan typically be an answer to some of the picks like Hades, some of these more aggressive style of soul laners to kind of match that aggression. Because it really does feel like Mulan just hits like a truck if she can get an item or two online up against really anybody, whether it's your soul lane opponent, whether it be even the enemy tank at that point if for some reason support rotates over. It just feels like Mulan has a ton of damage in her kit.
Yeah, and you feel it. As a mid laner especially.
It hurts.
But awesome, Jake.
What?
Will actually get first blood at this time. Wowie. Gets credit for that one. Not going to be Barra. It's going to be the Athena. Good freeze, good combo there. And that looks like purple buff will also be invaded unless Barracuda has something to say about it. No one else is on the way. Barra's only job, I was going to say, was to try to steal it away. Doesn't get to. And he also gets walled off. Luckily, level 1 wall doesn't last too long, and Barra doesn't have to get frozen there. I was going to say use the beats, but his beats aren't even back up yet from the first time he got frozen.
No, those are still gone for 40 seconds. These wall placements by Gamma have been impeccable this game. And this set, I should say. Not just, obviously we've only seen a couple so far this game, but I mean, last time stopping the taunt multiple times from Awesome Jake, blocking off many corridors during some of the early jungle skirmishes. Gamma's kind of nasty on this pick. I'll give him the credit for. We see a lot of Ymir this phase. We've seen a lot of Ymir just this year alone, Charlie, but these last couple of games by Gamma have been some of his better ones.
Yeah, I would say so. He's on point with the freezes in the walls so far. And then because of that, the Olympus Bolts have to put on a little bit more respect. I wouldn't step up too far whenever the opportunity presents itself, but Kirmi has ultimate here. Lasper hasn't quite hit level 5, it would seem. And it looks like not going to be able to find any aggression. I thought maybe he was looking at Benny Q, that Merlin was running out of mana there, but Kirmi also doesn't want to look for a fight. Just going to let Lasper get access to assassinate. Now the Loki ganks really could start to come through here. But because Kirmi's gone, Bastion's probably going to be just fine underneath this tower, as well as the rest of the junglers. I'm keeping my eyes on them. In mid currently, I haven't made any rotations yet. It's just been the solo kill. I guess it was more of a good setup from Gamma, but the one kill that Wowie was able to claim. Besides that, not too much fighting.
A singular kill for the Valkyries to start this game out, and a 1,500 gold lead to boot with it. So tripling that of what you get from that first blood bounty. Valks have been able to find some pretty good farm across the map. The mid camps have been going the way of Kirmi and Benny Q for the majority of this game. Benany stepped up to contest those ones. I think he was able to get at least a little bit. And then Baskin's just been pushed under tower, so that's where some of that extra gold is coming from. Is he hasn't really been able to stand in lane to fight up against Aquarius on this Mulan just yet.
And probably for the best, because as you said, Mulan really does start packing a punch, especially when you can get access to those upgraded abilities. It looks like Gamma was able to confirm that interceptor, and he was, so that's going to help out this Ymir. With the heals from Cupid as well, there's just no way the Bolts can fight into this. They've got no sort of pressure. Athena never wants to step up to a Ymir, and Jingwei's clear. Also not the best early on. I mean, they just have to hold on to their relics wherever possible. Ult for ult. Lasber's going to be just fine with trading that one with Kirmi. Also, was able to steal away that Greater Scorpion. The Valhalla Valkyries do not get their upgraded buffs. Maybe possible speed button if made. The blink's here.
Lasbra throws down the decoy, and a couple of more lashes after are good for a return kill for the Bolts. But can Lasbra make it out against Benny Q and Aquarius? Jukes out the grapple. Lasbra's been spotted. He's not going to be slowed down by Benny, but should be able to make it out no matter how many abilities Benny throws at him.
He's just such a speedy little frog. I mean, once he juked the grapple from Aquarius, there was no way he was getting caught there. He's got the slow immunity.
He was laughing.
Oh yeah, why not? You're Loki. You killed at the speed buff, and you get to zoom out away. No problem. Even when two laners rotated towards you, you get a little chuckle on the way out. So Lasbra's able to claim first kill of the Olympus Bolts game, but now Jake's gonna steal one and have to ult out. This Kirmi just bats away for a bit. And he went to Lasbra as well, just to say what's up. Didn't want to go over to Bara. Don't want to be stealing Bara's XP at this point. He's already having a rough time up against Wowie. So probably a smart call not to ult over to the duo lane. And now Gamma's just going to steal it back.
I was just about to say, and Gamma said, all right, well, thanks for wasting your time and your ultimate. I'll just take one of my own. But maybe they can take a life for the Valkyries in mid. Venenu goes down to Kirmi. So one kill for the Valks. A return offering stolen, maybe another one. Gamma is back, and he wants to steal yet another. He's got backing from Kirmi this time. They may be able to just drain the obelisk of all the offerings this time around. Only one left. And everything that Jake tried has been immediately mitigated by the Valks.
That's messed up, man. Just draining a team's offerings, and then Wowie's just supplying the heals while Kirmi was zoning, making sure that these trebuchets are getting locked down on side of the Valhalla Valkyries. And now Awesome Jake, he's definitely dead. No way that this Athena makes it out of this one. I was curious if Merlin was in any trouble, but Benny Q holds on to the beads because Lasbra didn't even decide to ult that one. Remember, though, I was going to say the speed buff timer should be known to Lasbra because of that invade. But it looks like Kirmi's actually on Gold Fury, so isn't going to be at speed buff. It looks like this Fury going to be going down for free unless Ven can get over it. It doesn't look like he even knows.
Now, Earthshaker not available either. Valhalla Valkyries, who started this game with a 1,500 gold lead off the back of a first blood. Well, they're at about 2,000 now. Some good pushback by the Bolts. Closed up some of that lead. Now the Valks are continuing to reclaim that 2K up over the Olympus Bolts. And remember, again, dial back to the start of the phase and one of the first matches that we had between just in general in phase 3 was the Valkyries versus the Bolts. The Valks able to get a win there. Olympus Bolts have been on the rise since that part. It's been a little bit of a slower grind back up for the Olympus Bolts, but now looking to get their revenge tour, see if they can find their win against the Valkyries here at the very end of the phase now in phase 3.
Finally, oh, and you left the mini,
That's
dude.
toxic.
That's messed up. I was going to say, because Kirmi spent so much time on the left side of the map, committed to the Gold Fury. Lasbra checked the back camps, but didn't check the speed. Now Kirmi, unfortunately, is going to walk up and see just the mini left at his speed buff. And that one just hurts, because now he's going to be slower, but also the speed buff is not going to respond in for such a long time. That's what you got to do, though, if you're Lasbra. You got your team's only kill on the Loki. If you're playing the villain, you got to fit the part sometimes.
I think when I looked over the player cam for Kieran, I saw mouth go, really? Okay. Like, just like, okay, dude.
I just wanted to be a little faster, and now I got to clear this
Look,
minion.
man, he's got a horse. If he can't be fast with the horse,
that's
like
fair.
how can he be fast?
Yeah,
Let's be
that's a
honest.
good point. He does have the horse, which Lasbra can't really match that amount of pressure.
He's just a frog. He's just one lone frog. He needs all the extra movement speed he can get to maybe try and chase down these kills. Steal yet another camp. Lasbra's been spending so much time in Kirmi's jungle. Hasn't really been too active in the fights early on, though. Can you really blame Loki for not wanting to get early fights? PvE, typically the name of the game for this god, but PvE has not been the name of the game for Lasbra on this pick. Remember, 11.8 KDA on this pick. Maybe he can add one extra kill to the column. He's already at 1. Damage on the Wowie, waiting for that dash to go through. Finds the stun after, gets the beads away. A Fields of Love will not save him, but Lasbra will go down because he was tanking up the tower the entire time through. And Wowie makes it a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way that Lasbra could have lived there. They needed 3 damage and the slow to confirm that kill. And now Awesome Jake is going to be spending a lot of time in the enemy jungle. How to dash to that tower to live is going to be stuck at the green buff, but will be able to go out. But now Ven, in his own jungle, is under some trouble. The Joust field will make it. And I don't think, actually good juke there. Is there enough damage to finish this? Yes, Ven, in his own jungle, also not going to be safe.
Dove on by Aqua and Kirmi, and an easy disengage now. Though it did cost Aqua and Kirmi both of their ultimates. Blink from Kirmi. Venenu maintains his beads throughout all of that. Teleport's still down for Aquarius, so it'll be a little while. Baskin, after proxying the Phoenix, will now be the one to try and steal his speed away. Doesn't do so. Kirmi happy that he gets to maintain his buff this time. Baskin, immediate ultimate, does find the stun onto Aquarius, and has the dash to get back out. Unsuccessful steal, but at least annoying the Valkyries and forcing 3 to rotate to the buff.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? If you're going to be down a bit in gold, you got to be annoying, and that's what the Olympus bolts and this game in particular are great at. Just making sure to consistently be at that speed buff on respawn, losing some objective pressure, losing some lane pressure in all what's going on. But still, they're able to get those kills. So now you're looking at a situation where Wowie's looking pretty fine over in lane, 3-1 on the Cupid, able to fully stack that Dev Gauntlet's going into the Xe. Barracuda trying to match it is a tier 1 bow down, as well as has not hit that level 12 just yet, but has a full wave going under his tower. So trying to play through Barracuda could be the plan, but you gotta wait a bit. I'd be more so focused on the right side of the map, where at least Baskin is matching the level of Aquarius, both sitting level 13. Masama Tarasu should be able to help out with the objective pressure as the game goes on. But so far, not too much action as of recent towards these objectives, just some skirmishes on the left and the right side of your map.
Red buff invade by Kirmi. Takes some more XP away from Venenu, who has been surely lacking on it because he's been dove so many times. 0-2 for the mid laner and for the support as well of the Olympus Bolt. So much dive that's been expended to try and keep Venenu down. And with all respect, you definitely want to keep the Vulcan away. We've seen just how much damage this god can do. Once you start getting to these late game team fight skirmishes, these 35-minute brawls. Aquarius in the middle of 3. Should not make it out of here. The Sundering Siphon by Awesome Jake. Aquarius grapples 1, but gets caught inside anyways. But that sets up for Oni Fury maybe. For the Valkyries, Bara and Baskin have shown up. And that will push the Valks away from the Gold Fury and now allow the Bolts to pick up the Pyro.
Yeah, but once that Pyro goes down, the Valks will have to try and commit to this objective. They heard it now. Looks like the DPS has started, but Basket and actually Awesome Jake ulting in. That's going to be the end of the poll, but are they trying to chase this one down? They didn't realize Awesome Jake was so weak, so the Valks probably smart to disengage until they realize that fact, but the Fury will stand tall. Oni Fury was pulled, and just by the looks of Baskin and Bara, as well as that defender of Olympus, it'll be stopped. So nothing but wins there for the Olympus Bolts. Ult for Bara is going to be a fine trade, depending on what this Trebuchet does. Because the Valks aren't here, I don't think this tier 1 tower goes down, barring some miraculous gank from Gamma. It looks like he's just going to take the purple buff.
Purple will be invaded by the Valks once again. Barracuda has not been able to have a fun time with his own experience inside the jungle. Good news for Bara. Trebuchet only got I believe, one shot off before it goes down now. So he doesn't have to worry about the threat of losing his tier 1 tower. But Venenu might have to worry about the threat of losing another red buff as Gamma's rotated over. And could be making a wraparound towards Barra and Jake. Ward is down for Gamma, nothing from the bolts. Taunt hits Gamma before the freeze can go through. Barracuda used the wing gust to try and get through. Beads are now gone from the Jink Wei. Wall to keep him out. Gamma now being chased by 3. Doesn't have wall. Does have freeze in just a moment. Another siphon from Jake to pull Gamma back in. Earthshaker immuned out by WoW, but Gamma finds a double freeze before he goes down. Lasbra gets the killing blow, and now Baskin has shown up to slow down Kirmi. Takes him away, and now it's a 3v3 because the dual lane has had to back themselves away. Ulted by Aquarius, gets the beads away from Venenu, and this Mulan is swinging hard. Grapple misses Venenu, slams in the wall, but Aqua can't chase out the kill.
Yeah, we'll get the Aegis down from Ven, but it looks like the rest of the Valks are trying to push down this tier 1 tower. They don't have the HP to do so, so backing up probably the smart call. You can see the vision on the Oni Fury as well in favor of the Valkyries, but the Olympus Bolts win that fight handily. Do they try and reset and go for the objective is the question. Again, they don't have the vision, and no sentry wards are in the inventory just yet. Awesome Jake, once he ults in, though, he will have the vision, and Wowie could be the first one to walk up.
Fields of Love are up. Wowie drops it. Baskin will leash the Fury. Oni goes back over to Wowie, and the Olympus Bolts get the Cold Fury. Wowie just able to dash out in time, but it is one basic from Barracuda that's able to spare the life, and I should say take the life of the Fury. Get the Olympus Bolts back in this game. They're only now a couple of 100 gold down, if even that at this point. Freeze onto Barra, taunt onto Wowie. That should keep Barracuda safe, but those oboe procs are starting to hit hard.
And they really are. They're adding up as well. I thought maybe the oboe procs were going to threaten that Fury because Wowie was able to hit him consistently, but Gamma would love to try and steal this one away or at least get a relic down. With the wall off the mark, not going to be able to put any more pressure towards that purple buff. So remember, the Valks have been ahead gold-wise throughout the entirety of this game, but finally the Olympus Bolts have been able to catch up and put themselves within 200, essentially even at this point on. It's just a small lead here or there, but once again the rotation on to Gamma, but it looks like BennyQ makes the rotation as well to help out his support.
Might have to get back to my thought in a moment. Gamma ults in the middle of 2. Barracuda has the heart bomb on top, and no Aegis to help his life. He's gone. Jake is now erased off the map as well. 3v3 at the pit because Kirmi is gone. BennyQ Aegis down. Baskin will be assisting Lasbra and taking Wowie off the map. Gamma now surrounded by 2, and a teleport in from Aquarius will not be enough to save the support's life. Maybe Aquarius can turn this one back. Lasbra stealths away. Aquarius cannot find the shot he needs, and instead it's BennyQ on the run. Great grapple from Aqua. Pulls him away from the mid laner, but Venenu is still on the hunt for this Merlin. And with a defender of Olympus in, not a chance that BennyQ makes it out this time.
Now Aquarius doesn't have the ultimate either. Can you peel this Mulan off your Vulcan, or are you even needing the peel? Trying to find the kill onto Aquarius. Good enough grapple. I don't think Awesome Jake wants to dive that one far. The Olympus Bolts are fine with trading out their duo lane because they're going to get the better end of that trade. Finally in the lead, and it looks like setting up for the Pyromancer off respawn. Just kidding. They're going to dash right past it. Who cares about the Pyromancer? They're pulling fire. Kirmi, the only one to walk up.
Can Kirmi get in there and stop it is the question. Ward removed. Aquarius now in. And Gamma on the way. Root, but a big taunt into the Fire Giant pit. Earthshaker off the mark by Venenu, but it's a double kill for Baskin. Lasbra has drug himself away from the fight because he is low. Barracuda goes in and cops out because Venenu has the backfire to drop the support.
It looks like Wowie is not giving this one up yet. He has the heals, but he's got to get in now if he wants to make the play. He's too little too late. Maybe you're looking for a kill onto Awesome Jake, but now you've been taunted in.
Beads and Aegis available, but I don't think Wowie is going to use those, even with BennyQ standing by. It's Awesome Jake credit to the kill, but the Olympus Bolts take 4, Fire Giant, and a 3,000 gold lead.
Yeah, I've been watching Baskin throughout the entirety of this set. This man's nuts. I mean, he's
He's
just been
good.
He's just been hitting absolutely everything. Been a part of 10 of the 13 kills here. Not to say that Lasper hasn't also been on point, but
That's the solo laner.
yeah, this Amaterasu making those rotations for the team so fast. 3 levels up on Aquarius, by the way, and Aquarius has also been on point. I mean, this Mulan has been making the clutch rotations the team needs to try and stay alive. But this Ama, I mean, the movement speed, the shred, as well as the CC for the team, has been absolutely on fire. So now the Olympus Bolts are in full control of this game, leading 13-7. They got themselves a solid 4, almost 5K gold lead, and now they're able to look towards the left side of the map. All Tier 1 towers still available that they would like to go for here. And since they finally got control, they're going to do just that. Lasper on the left side, going to grab that Tier 1. Gold Fury should be up in about a minute or so as well. So grab as many towers as you can, and then reset for that Fury. I don't imagine this lead is one that nets a Phoenix Siege unless they find a miraculous pick. And since Aquarius is on the right side of the map, the Valks probably don't want to step up to get picked in that situation.
Wall by Gamma slows down the bolts and more than anything buys time for the Valkyries to group back up around the Tier 2 tower. Only the solo laner is not really a part of this action. Lazarus instead will rotate over to mid to help out Baskin. He doesn't really need the assist on taking down this tower, but we'll be thankful that they can team up to drop that one quickly. Aquarius still doing his own thing behind the enemy Tier 2 tower. Maybe he can split push one of his own. But they've already lost Tier 2 and left, Tier 2 mid. Tier 2, maybe an extra kill. Gamma sundered, losing health. Earthshaker off the mark, but Bennycube has taken down Jake. Barracuda ults to get away, and Baskin finds a double stun in the back line, while the Tier 2 tower finally crumbles under the might of the bolts.
Yeah, losing awesome Jake there for the Tier 2. Not great, but also not terrible. The Olympus Bolts were able to grab 2 Tier 2s and 2 Tier 1s, which means they've got plenty of gold in hand for the time being. Looks like they're going to grab that Fury as well and then go on for the full reset. Awesome Jake does have that ultimate if he wants to try and join, but Benny Q is going for his own red buff. Maybe he doesn't realize how fast the Olympus Bolts are and the fact that they're right behind him. He's got no idea.
They are zooming in. Lasbra throws out the decoy just to get some clear onto the minions. The Bolts have about a minute left on his Fire Giant. They're able to take 4 towers so far. Maybe an extra kill would be good. Hold in from Jake. We'll find a double top, but a good freeze from Gamma slows things down. Even better wall puts Jake at critical HP. Jake might not make it out, but the Earthshaker finally connects with Aquarius this time around. Will not take him out. It's Baskin who seals the deal that time. But that is the dual lane of the Bolts eliminated for just Aquarius so far.
Baskin in the backline has not taken any bit of damage, but it looks like Ven and Lasbra aren't exactly afraid of this fight. They have the ultimate from Lasbra if he wants to get aggressive, and Benny Q does have both relics as well. I don't see a pick opportunity, so probably smart to run away with that movement speed aura from Baskin. The Olympus Bolts, all things considered, were able to get a lot off of that Fire Giant, but the Valhalla Valkyries were also able to stand up and defend. They didn't just roll over and let their towers go down. They made sure to group up and just fight in that situation. One thing I've learned, though, is that Awesome Jake is not as tanky as he thinks he is. Just dashing in, freeze, wall, dead. It's happened twice now. 1 in 5. Sometimes that's the price to pay for the initiation, but you also need a little bit more tank stats if you're going to be dashing in, especially that far deep into a team fight.
You know what I've learned, Charlie?
Lay it on me.
I'm not used to seeing Sundering Siphon. And for some reason, I keep thinking that's an Afro. That's an Afro
The Afro
kiss link
kiss.
there. I'm like, bro, when did Jake turn into Afro? Why is he linked to an enemy player? Oh wait, no, it's just the Sundering Siphon, which I think this is the first time that we've seen it this year in a competitive match.
Is it Sundering
SPL?
Siphon or Siphoning Sunder? It is
Sundering
Sundering
Siphon.
Siphon. I always thought it was Siphoning Sunder for some reason.
In all honesty, I think you could say it either way and nobody would correct you.
Well,
if I'm
it's
being-
on screen now, so they can't.
No, they can't. They can't. See, you take it away, now they can't correct you.
You're right. Now it could be either. I liked it when it first came out, though. It's an interesting mechanic as long as you're in the back line.
I vividly remember when this item got introduced and the Scorching Blink at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
I tuned into a Lasper stream and I said, yo, Laz, you should see how much damage you can do on the Neath bot with this combo. And he blinked, Scorching Blink past the Neath, Sundering Siphon, and with both charges and the full blink, he was able to 100 1% underneath with nothing more than just that. They were crazy on release, have been nerfed since then. We'll see if they can do anything with this siphon for Jake. No, it will not.
My
Fields
God.
of Love, not even necessary for the kill. Just slows down Jake and brings him to his doom. The Valkyries now around the Fire Giant, control to them. But Lasbro's wrapping around on the Loki. Aquarius doesn't find the target he needs, but a perfect wall by Gamma sets up for everything. Veneno will respawn to his own death. It's only Baskin and Lasbro left alive. Lasbro tries to make the hero play. Unfortunate for him, Assassinate gets him over the wall to get out.
Yeah, now it's going to be Basket and Lasbro trying to stop this Fire Giant, but it looks like the fight is what the Valkyries are after. Probably a smart call. I don't think Baskin is dying anytime soon, so you got to look towards this Loki. Because Baskin and Lasbro are slippery as they are, no Fire Giant pull happening just yet. Awesome Jake's on the way back in. Are they going to fight this 3v5? It looks like they want to.
Jake goes back forward.
Jake, you gotta
stunned
stop, man. You gotta
and
stop.
Dead. And,
What is he doing?
well, you know what? He thought the grayscale looked really pretty, and so he decided to visit it once again.
Hot take, Jake has spent more time dead than alive this game. And I could be wrong, but it's got to be close. This is like the 4th time he's just spawned in, died. We looked at his face cam, and he goes, it's just an exhale. That's all.
Oh, man.
That's all.
They
it
do a
is.
lot of damage,
I mean,
don't they?
he-
And I still haven't built any more defense than I had the last 2 times that I died to it.
It's true. You'd think he'd get like a Magi's. He didn't even get a Phantom Shell.
No, he would fortify.
The Phantom Shell would save him in 40% of those engagements. Doesn't matter. Fire Giant started back up by the Valks. Let's wait till Jake can ult back in. It seems like a good plan to me.
Keep your eyes on Baskin, because somehow this man lived with 5 people staring him down at full HP. Fire Giant by the Valks, but it's not really being targeted much. In fact, Gamma is just eating a lot of damage. Baskin will walk back in
He's picking it up.
and pick it up for himself. And Indle side better of it, because Benny Q throws down the Eclipse to keep him at bay there.
He's back.
Jake's back, baby.
He's got the dash charged up.
He's got fortifying shell this time. He's got
It's not
like
up though.
a little bit more defense, but again, that's for another 8 seconds. We'll see if the Bolts can hold out that long. We'll see if Jake can live that long. It seems that it will be so, and they'll pull the fire.
I was going to say there's an argument to be made that his team's griefing by not killing off the taunts, but this time Ben, a little bit too far up, and he's getting ran down by Kirmi.
Aegis is doing so much work for Ben. He'll throw out the Earthshaker, get a big heal back, and he's still alive even through the Fields of Love. Wowie, half HP. Lasbro frozen, but he's not out just yet. Instead, it's Wowie, who is on death's door. He's got to back himself out of this team fight, and once again, it is Baskin leading the charge for the Bolts.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to be getting anything, though. Once again, the Fire Giant picked back up by the Bolts. Ven, nowhere to be seen, and Lasbra still does have that ultimate. The Valkyries have reset, though, and they're charging forward.
Gamma taunted into the Fire Giant pit, but Jake goes down yet again, this time to Benny Q. Baskin picks up Gamma, supports are gone. Kirmi dives into the backline only to die to Basket on the retreat. Aqua goes down to Barracuda. It is only the carries left for the Valkyries. It started so well for them, but it's gone all downhill because Basket again is going unchecked.
Yeah, Lasbra was able to zone out for a bit, and it looks like Fire Giant will be the call. BennyQ has the wrap around here, and Lasbra hasn't quite noticed him. BennyQ's got some explosive damage if he can get in here.
Earthshaker to the Fire Giant, gets it for the Olympus Bolts. 4 out of the 5 will have the buff. Wowie on the grayscale screen. Divine for Baskin. A 9-0 performance on the AMA. Doesn't matter what you give this man. He is back in full swing in the SPL.
This man is 9-0-5. Just everyone kept dying. I mean, that's 3 awesome Jake deaths where Baskin did not leave Fire Giant. My man just stayed there sustaining. 3K gold in hand. Look at everyone else's gold. They can't match that. They were able to back, to be fair. Some were spent. But besides that, an unbelievable performance from this Amaterasu. And it looks like the Fury, once again, picked up by the Bolts. Oni Fury will help these minions to grab that last tier 2, as well as trying to break the base here of the Valhalla Valkyries. Baskin could either upgrade his relics or get a 3K pot. I'm more interested in the 3K pot, if I'm honest.
Now the question is, does he go 3K power pot or 3K defense pot?
All right, I'm just going to say it because it's Baskin.
Power.
he's going power. But defense would probably be, like, objectively better.
All right, red pot. So a normal red. Oh my god, Kirmi. Okay, he jumps over the stun from Assassinate. Jake ults in. Kirmi goes down. Kill for Laz.
It was
6-1-11.
It was the defense one, yeah, and it's just objectively better if we're honest. But,
Yeah, but
I
it's
wanted to see the red one to scale off his very minimal power that he had built.
Okay, so Lasper is at a 11.5 KDA right now. I had to
Okay.
quick math this one, so
Yep.
he's just barely under his average. So he's not. If it stops here, which knowing the bolts and knowing how these sieges go, it will not stop at this point just yet as far as kills or assists go. As long as Lasper doesn't die and keep up that high KDA on this Loki for his 5th game on the God competitively. Jake goes in, taunts Wowie, beads are gone from the Hunter, and it's Baskin to the backline, gets Wowie away. Lasper half HP, Gamma ults in the middle of 3, and Aquarius goes to Venenu to the backline. Somebody has got to help the Vulcan, and it's the rest of the team to rally around. Rampage for Lasbra. That's a 7th kill for himself, and the bolts move to the mid-bird.
Still 4 ultimates available for the Olympus bolts, and all the Valhalla Valkyries have is Fields of Love and a great jousting field. Awesome Jake teleports in, and he's gonna get big damage on the Wowie.
Earthshaker doesn't connect. Wowie does go down, but Kirmi is able to trade out with a couple there. BennyQ on a rampage of his own. Gamma low, Gamma gone. It's Lasbra who takes that kill there, and Baskin wants the kill onto Benny, but a good transform will keep BennyQ alive. Baskin, Lasbra, Bara. The last 3 alive for the bolts for 40. Lasbra goes back in, but he'll die out this time. And it's Kirmi who will also lose his life to the Hunter. BennyQ, by his lonesome, will take down Barracuda, but he's not living up against Baskin. This one should be number 11 for Baskin.
This man's immortal. He's got 0 seconds for Aquarius, another 15 for the duo lane. He can't do it all, so he's gonna have to run back to base. But it looks like he wants this tier 2 tower as well. I'm not sure if he wins this match, but it looks like no one's gonna show up, so who cares? He's just gonna take a while, and eventually he'll be able to grab it. He's like, guys, wait, how much gold does Baskin have?
Well, he had.
I want to know if he can get another 3K. Can he stack? Can he stack 3Ks before he goes back? Another 600 gold will do it, and I think that's what he wants.
We'll see. We'll see if
Who cares about relics? He's not teleporting.
No, he hasn't used a relic. He hasn't used his beads and teleport in like 6 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. He hasn't upgraded them, so surely he's going for it. That's what
He's
he
not
needs.
even top mitigated. Well, to be fair, it's hard to beat top mitigated when Jake is inting into the enemy team.
All right, Jake, and all right, if the bolts were losing, I would say Jake is inting. Because they're winning so hard, why aren't they killing off those taunts, man? I think his team's trolling him as far as I'm concerned.
Wait, we're almost there.
He's
Does
going double 3Ks. You know he's going double 3Ks.
Does he get the red?
Don't you upgrade those relics,
Don't get
Baskin.
those red. We are intently watching and waiting
He sold.
for his moment. He bought the relic upgrades. Oh, and he sold for a disc.
brother.
This guy stinks.
He farmed for 3K just for that, but once again, Lasper and Jake to the back line. They are going to force the ultimate out of Kirmi. Besides that, now Awesome Jake getting chased down by Kirmi.
But Lasbra waiting in tow, grappled by Aquarius. Will not be the end of the line for the Loki this time around. But the Olympus bolts with Fire Giant respawning in 10 seconds. Jake can group back up, go back to base. Doesn't have ult to get here immediately. So he'll have to make the long haul back with his buddy Lasbra as they return to base.
Yeah, we're going to see a full-on retreat here. The Valks are stepping up because they want to try and go for this EFG, or at least try and fight for it. Their only play is to burst it down and hope that there's no steal potential here from the bolts, because once those fire minions pour in, it's not going to be a good time. Keep your eyes on Gamma. One wall could change the tides of this team fight. Ven does have his alternate timeline back up, so not a good target for the immediate pick, but they've got so much burst. The Valkyries are sieging forward.
All relics up besides Aegis on Bara and beads on Kirmi. 10 seconds for Kirmi, less than 15 for Bara. Jake goes in, taunts Aquarius, siphons him as well, and Aquarius losing a lot of HP, but Fields of Love have found 2. Aquarius, the first one down. It's Lazarus credit to the kill. Earthshaker, only it's Gamma. And look at the damage that Kirmi has done to the backline. Barracuda is now gone. It's 3 versus 4. Wowie dashes out. A blink in. It's Barrett. It's Penny, I should say, versus Venenu. But Lasbra has found a triple kill. Venenu has lived through it all. And Awesome Jank stands tall in the fight. Will join the rest of the team, and the Fire Minions will end the game, the set, and the last game of the regular season.
Baskin didn't get to go godlike, and I think that's the biggest crime of them all, but the Olympus Bolts closing this one up in dominant fashion. Kimmy did do some good damage, though. I mean, when he got
went crazy.
I thought for a second there might be a turn, then I realized, wait, Baskin's full HP, Lasbra still has ultimate, and there's no way you're winning after that, especially because the whole play of Jake dashing in there was to stop Aquarius from backing so those minions wouldn't go through. So even if the Valks somehow won that fight, I think Baskin could have stalled their backs long enough to where the minions would have ended anyway.
Yeah, Fire Minions come up and end the last game of the season, so the Olympus Bolts can chalk a Winions game up at that point there. But great play by the Olympus Bolts this time. Great fight back by the Valkyries, though, able to keep this one interesting for a while. But Baskin, 2 games, I believe, both of them undying. Something like 17 or 18 kills combined between the two of them. Baskin's a menace. The Bolts win game 2. They win the set. That's it for me and Charlie. We'll throw it over to the desk to break it down.
Unlucky for Gore. He had to watch the Winions. Or lucky for you. Well, how do you stand on Winions? Were you sad that the Winions ended
Oh
the
no,
last game?
I always think Winions are fun.
Okay, so you're on the that's fine.
It's comedic to
right,
me.
it's
I don't
the fact
necessarily
that it was
like.
the last game of the season. Right.
That's what I was saying. Like that's unfortunate for the Valkyries.
Right, for the
That's
Valkyries,
the last thing we
that's how-
see
In this,
for a month.
that is the last time in 2022 we will see the Valhalla Valkyries play. Something to think about. Unfortunate that it's the Winions.
Hopefully, it's the last time in 2022 that we see the Winions win.
All right, so we've got 2 quarterfinals, 2 semifinals. So we've got like 8 or something set score to go at Phase 3 playoffs, and then 2 4-day weeks of SEC SOC qualifiers. When you say Winions, you mean they deal the last bit of damage
Yeah,
to the
the
Titan.
minions are the
Right,
last
okay.
thing.
And we've only had like 2 this year, so I think that's a pretty safe bet. It will be the last time this year that we see Winions. Definitely won't be the last time we see minions do the majority of the health to a Titan, though.
But on that train of thought, last year Winions did 8 games worth of winning.
So we're on.
So we need to
make
get
up some-
6 more.
That's right.
In the
Well, look, whether the Winions did it or not, we were barreling towards an Olympus Bolts win here in game number 2. The key players stepped up, and Baskin gets the spotlight, Gore, after game number 1 here.
Oh, for sure.
When the team made a change, Haddix went to the Leviathans, picked up Baskin. The question was, can Baskin, fit into this team as well as Haddix's personality seemed to for a while? Then can Baskin bring the mechanical prowess that we know that he is capable of? And then recently, Gore, it's been, can Baskin match what Haddix has been doing on the Leviathans? Because he has looked amazing over on that team. This is the standout performance so far for Baskin. Goes 11-0 and 12 on the Amaterasu.
Yeah, I think a very emphatic yes to that, right? Like,
all
and
those, right.
a lot of it, like, ask the Bolts themselves. They'll tell you they were in a slump. The score tells them they were in a slump, right? 6th is not where they ideally wanted to be. But being able to pick someone up that was, I'm not new to the league, but new to the year, new to, like, the last 5 years of competition, right, for Baskin, and kind of bringing him in. I think it took him a little while to kind of get things rolling again, but now that they're there, I think that we could expect more performances like that out of this team.
Perfect way for Baskin and the Bolts to end their phase. And
Baskin
as
and
such,
the boys.
Baskin and the boys, that's right. Baskin and the boys, Baskin and the Bolts, they're rolling here in game number 2. And Baskin standing by with J-Mac for the post-game interview.
Yeah, that's right. No, Baskin, it's been a while since we got to talk to you a little bit here. You were back here at the very beginning of the phase, and now to close out the phase of the team. How's it feel? I mean, it feels like you're back in full swing in the solo lane. How you feeling over here with the Olympus Bolts, man?
Yeah, I think we're definitely feeling really good. Practice the last couple of weeks have been pretty good, and I think our Titan set on Friday was good overall. We just had some trouble ending and stuff like that, so feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and how about you personally? I mean, again, you've been playing mid for a while competitively over into the SEC. It's been a while since you've had some time over to the SPL. How does it feel kind of with your first phase back in the Pro League?
Yeah, obviously it's been sort of an adjustment period. Like definitely for like the first like honestly up until like 2 weeks ago, I was still feeling like pretty washed, honestly, because I did take a long break, and before that I was playing a different role. So yeah, like the last like week and a half, I've been feeling like more confident in like my lane and team fights, but before that I was definitely just like kind of bad, honestly. But yeah, I think we're as a team we're kind of like on the up. I would say.
And kind of talk to me about your mental in that last set there. I mean, you go, what, like 6-0 on Hades, and you have like an 11-0 game on the Amaterasu. Were you just kind of feeling yourself that game, man? It felt like nobody was paying attention to you that entire time.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I guess they were just good picks, and then I think I got an early game from last, like in the first game, and maybe the second game too. I don't remember too well, and I just kind of got a lead, and yeah, team fight just went well, I guess. I don't really know.
Well, it felt like you were unkillable. It felt like the Bolts were untouchable in that set. Congratulations, Baskin, on the final win of the regular season. We'll get back with the team to celebrate. We'll throw it back to the desk one final time.
That's right, and J-Mac's spot on there. Baskin goes a combined 17, 0, and 20 in the 2 games against the Valhalla Valkyries in this set. 6-0, 8 on Hades in game 1, 11, 0, and 12 on the Amaterasu here in game number 2. Talk about capping off your phase and your regular season year of the SPL in a great way.
Yeah, it honestly enlightens me to think that maybe we need something that's like not like the glorifying the triple-double, because like going 11-0 and 12 is way more impressive than dying like 10 times.
The double-double is better than the
yeah.
triple-double.
And so I'm wondering if maybe we should latch onto that instead.
Although a double-double could be
KD as well.
Could be
or
deaths and assists, which is what Jake nearly got here. In,
the double-double?
He nearly got
Almost.
a double-double in game 2. That was a tough one from Jake, but look, I think with the Athena that you sometimes fall prey to dashing in, throwing up the taunt, and then just getting blown up before you can do much. We knew that BennyQ eventually was going to get to a point on this Merlin that was the threat. BennyQ did 39,000 damage, and that maybe clarifies a bit of what was going on.
Yep.
Great damage game from everyone, though. When everyone was right around 30,000, and then BennyQ blows everyone out by the extra 9,000. But 28, 29, 30,000 for basically everyone except the supports. So, Gore, I think I want to zoom out now. I want to look at both of these two teams a bit as we begin to wrap the day and wrap the regular season here for Season 9. Fantastic way for the Bolts to end their phase, and I'll get there in just a moment. But for the Valhalla Valkyries, it's a tough way to end their phase.
Yeah.
They had a hard-fought weekend here, a couple of matches that they played this weekend. Lost to the Solar Scarabs, but that one was a 3-game set. Lost to the Jade Dragons, then lost to the Bolts ultimately. So a tough weekend for the Valkyries, but I think a team that will buckle down over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I expect that when we see them again, it's going to be a very just stronger Valkyries, right? And again, based on what we've seen, I know that when they put their nose to the grindstone and when it comes down to it, they are a team that has shown a ridiculous amount of growth in the past. And I expect that same amount of growth to be there, despite the fact that they aren't maybe finishing where they would have liked.
Well, Gore, they unfortunately finished last in this phase. This is your final standings for Phase 3 of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. The Atlantis Leviathans end the phase in first, just ahead of the Jade Dragons and the Camelot Kings, both with 10 wins, but the Jade Dragons control that head-to-head. So the Dragons will be your second seed. Oni Warriors in fourth. Titans, Bolts wrap up 5th and 6th, and the Solar Scarabs just out the top 6 that we had talked about. And this shows you why every single individual game, individual match is important. Think about the Camelot Kings losing to the Valkyries.
Yeah.
If that set's a win, suddenly the Camelot Kings are the ones in second seed. The Jade Dragons, they lost a few sets they would have loved to have had back this phase. Things could have looked very different there. Leviathans, they went on a historic run and still were just one game in first seed. And so, you talk about how close-knit the SPL is and how close-knit Season 9 has been, Gore.
I mean, we came into this week talking about how the Valks, who are technically 8th right now, could have potentially made playoffs and knocked the Bolts out of there, right?
That's right. There could have been a lot of moving and shaking, and I'm glad you bring up playoff score, because now that the regular season of Season 9 is over, it is all about the road to Worlds. It's all we have left for this year. The Phase 3 playoffs will begin on November 30th. So, Thanksgiving this upcoming week for those who celebrate. And then November 30th will be the Phase 3 playoffs. And remember, it is the top 4 from that event. So it's your top 6 SPL teams that have qualified in there from this phase. 2 SPL teams will not make it to Worlds from that event. The other 4 will. And then a couple weeks of SCC and SOC qualifiers, and those are now sets, and those are now tournament score in early to mid-December that we have to look heavily at, because a couple favorite teams coming out of that could potentially, in theory, upset some of our SPL squads.
Yeah.
You're looking at the Hounds, you're looking at Hex
Hell,
Mambo.
they have.
They have in the past. At SMITE Summer Masters, they've done that. And then our year culminates, comes to a head early in January. The SWC group stages will qualify our final 4 teams. That'll be a mix of SPL, SCC, and SOC teams. And then Gormizer, January 13th, the SMITE World Championship kicks off.
That's 2 really important weeks back to back. To the point where, like, because first off, the group stages, it's also Katie's birthday that it kicks off on. So you get a huge weekend, I think, there, just because qualifying the last ones, as you had said, you look at the Hounds, you look at Mambo, who have both at one point this year beaten an SBL team at a Masters level event. So I think that you've got to look at this team potentially being, or the bottom 2 teams in the SBL, and definitely a couple of those teams from the SCC, having that potential to make it to Worlds all of a sudden, because it's just 4 go, 4 don't, right? 8 teams go into that weekend, 4 come out. And there's going to be some seeding conversations, things like that, but realistically, as long as you can get beyond that one little hurdle, you're going to the World Championship. And admittedly, that's got to be weighing on some of the teams, not just the Scarabs and the Valkyries, because they're definitely going there. Whoever ends up falling short during the Phase 3 playoffs, they are going to have to be a little worried about that.
There are going to be some sweaty hands in the player booth. I mean, stakes at an all-time high, Gore. No room for error. It's the same case during Worlds, but you want to get there, right? I mean, even if you lose in quarters, you're obviously devastated as a player, but getting the opportunity to be there, play in front of the fans, something you do not want to fall short of. 53 days, by the way, to the kickoff of the SMITE World Championship. Crazy to think about. Before that, though, we've got Phase 3 playoffs. That'll qualify our first 4 teams. Just about 10 days away, week and a half or so. We'll see you back right here for the Phase 3 playoffs. I do want to take a moment, just prior to the end of the show, to thank everyone on the caster team, all the guys back in production, video, social, everyone on our team here. It's been a long year. It's been a chaotic year. Plenty of ups and downs, but we ended on a real high note this weekend. So I'm proud of us, proud of the team. And, of course, everyone at home, all the viewers, all of the players we had here in studio. A great year here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. But it is not over yet. 10 days away, we will qualify our first 4 teams from the Phase 3 playoffs into the SMITE World Championship. And so, for one final time, on behalf of myself, Gormizer, I'm saying it like it's the entire end of the year. For one final time in the regular season of Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League, I'll see you in 10 days. Don't worry. Phase 3 playoffs shortly. On behalf
I was getting
of myself,
separation anxiety
Gormizer,
already, dude.
all the
I was ready.
casters, everyone back in production, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the Phase 3 playoffs.
Auf Wiedersehen.